For the F1 fans giveth, and then they taketh away. This is chaotic, ladies and gents. As I was thinking about, ruminating on all that's happened in the season to date that has been F1, I was thinking of the biggest stories. You've got Lewis Hamilton, Ferrari. You've got all the chaos going on intra-team between Charles and Carlos Sainz. But the biggest story, of course, is Christian Horner and Jos Verstappen and what's going on at Red Bull. And the bigger story, even than that, is what might happen here on in. You guys will remember at the outset that Jos Verstappen, on the back of all the Christian Horner allegations, says if Christian Horner does not leave thereafter, Red Bull as an F1 team will implode. That is chaos, ladies and gents, because we all thought that Jos Verstappen was a madman, didn't we, NC Paddock? Too kind, by the way, sir. We thought he was crazy. How could this team, with an RB20 car that's the most dominant that we've ever seen in history, how could they implode? They can barely lose a race in the hands of Max Verstappen at the moment. How could they implode then, Jos Verstappen? This makes no sense, chap. But sometimes, some say that F1 is a people sport, and your ability to nail 25 points over the course of a race weekend is a function of how well or poorly you manage your people. And Christian Horner for the longest time has been praised for nailing that. People management has been at the core of all of Red Bull's success, from the Vettel years 2010 through 13 to the Verstappen years now 2021. Thereafter, Christian Horner has nailed that. Adrian Newey too. Leave me alone, said Adrian. I will get this done. I will design you a God tier car. Just leave me alone. Go away. Don't Frank Williams me. Sack off the micromanagement. I will get it done. I will build you one of the most aerodynamically efficient motor cars ever built in F1 history. And that's exactly what Christian Horner's managed to do so well. That has been Christian Horner's pioneering, no managerial gift. So what's happened then since? And why is what Jos Verstappen said, that Red Bull will implode, why has that since been proved correct? Well, Christian Horner, we all understand what's gone on with the allegations, the salacious allegations. There has been interactions of an inappropriate nature with one PA. By the way, this PA, this female employee who made the allegations, for which Christian Horner has since been exonerated, that PA was also Adrian Newey's. You see us leaving a circle here? It makes more sense now, doesn't it? It makes more sense what's going on. But it's bloody techie. Go on then, NC Paddock. We did mock Jos. You are right, NC Paddock. You're far too kind. We mocked Jos for talking about this implosion thing because it sounded like a hyperbole. It really did at the time. But since it's coming true, go on then. Let's take a step back. What's happened? Christian Horner had inappropriate interactions of a sexual nature with a colleague. His PA, who just so happens to be the PA of Adrian Newey. Adrian Newey being one of the greatest racing / aerodynamic minds that we've seen in F1 to date. But a chap that doesn't believe in politicking, wrangling, that's not for him. Leave me alone. Let me get on with my job. That's how I enjoy myself. So as soon as Adrian gets a whiff that his PA is involved in this intermingling, this salacious going back and forth politicking, that turns him off, right? Adrian doesn't want any part of that. You'll remember that Christian Horner was on the brink of being sacked in 2021, but Max Verstappen, by winning that drivers' championship, dug that fella out of a very big hole. He would have been done. Gonzo was Christian Horner. Dietrich Mateschitz didn't fancy it anymore. So long had his tenure been of unsuccessful campaigns. You don't tolerate that if you are Dietrich Mateschitz, God tier level Red Bull CEO. Christian Horner would have been sacked had Michael Massey not dropped an SH1 T-bomb. And that's important because that Christian Horner turned it around since, because of his people management, because his ability to be clutch in the latter stages of 2021. He'd survived. He had survived because of his ability to micromanage, but manage even to allow Adrian Newey to do what he does best. And then comes the successful years, the Max Verstappen era, the dominance, the likes of which we've never seen in bloody F1. I've never seen it. What people will say, Sebastian Vettel potentially 2010-30. I doubt it. Are you having a laugh? This level of dominance. If he carries on like this, in the next couple of years, he will be the winningest driver that we've ever seen, inclusive of Lewis Hamilton and his 104 wins at 26, 27 years old. Nobody's going to tell me that we've seen dominance like that before now. What are you talking about? That's nonsense. So, you could be excused at the start of the season for thinking that this Red Bull success was going to last forever, ad infinitum, because it certainly looked like that. This car that Adrian Newey's designed that's ridiculously brilliant, aerodynamically efficient, leverages to the nth degree the DRS, super difficult to overtake, super difficult to defend against, works basically 90% of the tracks on the calendar currently in 2024. You'd be forgiven for thinking that this was never going to end. But that's fool's gold, isn't it, in sports? Because all dynasties come to an end. The point is about the timing. Nobody thought that this team was going to implode so soon, not unless your name was Jos Verstappen, because he knew that the wrangling was caused by his charge, that Max Verstappen didn't like the way that his guy Helmut Marko was being treated, the way that Christian Horner tried to ostracize Helmut Marko, and that's why he's written into his contract this clause that if Helmut Marko at the ripe old age of 70, I think it's nearly 80, that if he leaves, Max Verstappen can too, and that's where it gets techie. That's where Christian Horner has failed to manage the circumstance, running off with British financiers, trying to grab for more power, trying to spin off Red Bull F1 technology so that he can run it, so that he can be the equivalent of what Toto Wolff is for Mercedes, a shareholder come team principal. That's strike one. Strike two, you guys will remember just how important Marko is to the career of one Max Verstappen. Instrumental even when everybody doubted him when he was crashing those first two seasons. Marko said stay with that chap. Marko spotted Max Verstappen's talents at the Nürburgring all those years back. Changeable conditions, God tier levels ability of feel. The next Lewis or the next Ayrton Senna or the next Michael. That's who Marko touted Max Verstappen as. And since then, Marko has indulged Max Verstappen, a god-tier racing driver, to be sure, in his every single demand. 2015 and 2016, when they were at Toro Rosso, Carlos Sainz Jr., you guys have seen the article Mark Hughes talking around Helmut Marko bending over backwards, facilitating Max Verstappen becoming great in that team, learning, cutting his teeth, ensuring that the pit crew and the strategists were working towards Max's advantage, leveraging that, enabling him, allowing him, facilitating his growth. Max Verstappen is a simple man at core, god-tier racing driver of course, but loyal to the core. So you think Helmut Marko, you think that he's going to allow Helmut Marko to be treated that way, ostracised, potentially sacked, and not do anything about it? That's why he's got that clause in his contract. And that's why, as of April 24, it is kicking off. Who knew that Jos Verstappen was going to be proved right, saying that if Christian Horner stays on as team principal, that Red Bull F1 could potentially implode. Here's your first leg of the implosion. What's happening now? Adrian Newey has been offered a gargantuan contract courtesy of Aston Martin. Depending on who you talk to, it's anywhere between 100 and 200 million over the course of 4 years. Gazzetta dello Sport says 100 million. That's 25 million a year. Testament to how key of a man Adrian Newey is in 2024. Again, my guy Peter Windsor alludes to the fact that that offer has declined. Now, if I'm a betting man, if I know Adrian Newey, as I think I do, having just read his book, Adrian Newey will take that offer down the road to Maranello and say, John Alkin, Scuderia Ferrari. I always wanted to work for you as an aerodynamicist. However, the guys and girls over at Aston Martin, they've offered me this. Match it, and I'm yours. That will be the conversation that's happening over the next couple of weeks. That's your first one. Second conversation that's happening over the next couple of weeks. You've heard Toto Wolff alluding to the fact, what's going on, James? I hope you're good. Alluding to the fact that he's super keen to amend for previous negotiation pitfalls. In his mind, Toto Wolff, it's still a massive faux pas, no an indictment on him as a team principal, the fact that he didn't sign Max Verstappen. This then, as far as Red Bull's implosion, the exodus of key men / personnel, is the opportunity that Toto Wolff, team principal of Mercedes AMG Petronas, has been waiting for then. You heard me talk about this yesterday. They're going to have a conversation at the Miami Grand Prix post next week with all the key personnel. This is serious. Not to say that it will happen. Let's differentiate, delineate between the two things. I'm not trying to predict outcomes here, saying that Max Verstappen is going to go across to Mercedes, take that to the bank. Not that sort of hyperbole today. What I am saying, though, is that this conversation is real. Reporting, too many sources are talking to this for it not to be. I will eat my hat if it's not. They will have this conversation present at this negotiation. This preliminary conversation will be all the key personnel. From Mercedes' side, you have Daimler AG, Ola, what's his name? You have Toto Wolff, of course, 33% owner, and you have Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Let me tell you about Sir Jim Ratcliffe, if you don't know, for the avoidance of doubt. Owner of Man United, 16 billions worth of assets to that guy's name, even as at the last count of Forbes. A very serious mover or shaker. If you follow football / soccer, depending which side of the pond you reside, you will know that Jim Ratcliffe is a mover and shaker. Man United came in straight away, sacked all of the key personnel in the book, just didn't care. Mover and shaker. If you want a guy to make moves in the market, then there is your guy. Toto Wolff, we've talked about ad infinitum. He has an agenda. It is a bee in his bonnet. He sees it as a faux pas, the fact that he missed out on Max Verstappen in the first instance, 2015. Do not think for a second that those billionaires around the table won't be looking to secure Max Verstappen on the back of that conversation. Big money offer coming in, potentially up to $150 million to sign Max Verstappen, and that will include brand deals, ambassadorial rules. They will offer that chap a contract for life, because the opinion of the German racing driver, the German community, being Nico Rosberg, Ralf Schumacher, that Toto Wolff at this stage has no other option than to sign Max Verstappen if he wants to return Mercedes to the pinnacle, to the top step of the podium. And remember, culturally there are differences as we look at it. You would imagine that Toto Wolff in Germany will be celebrated, but Germans don't like losers. Not when you once upon a time were a serial winner. And that will be weighing heavy on one Toto Wolff. The cultural burden. This is why you can see his face all sunken in, right? The stress of the losses over the 36 months just past are wearing on him. That's why they're looking to roll out the red carpet for Max Verstappen, as at the Miami Grand Prix when they're having this meeting. Talk at the Gazzetta dello Sport is of a lifetime contract. You know, the sort that they offered R9 Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo back in the day, 10 million per year ad infinitum for the rest of his life, whether he's driving or not. That's how important this has become. That's exactly how important this has become. And let me talk very quickly to the extent of this implosion. Because Adrian Newey's misses, and again, we've touched on this, but I need to reiterate for the avoidance of doubt, there is a polemic. The reason why Adrian Newey's leaving is because Christian Horner, in so many interviews, notwithstanding the allegations is, of course, the core. That's your ground zero. But appreciation is also really bloody important for a god-tier aerodynamicist like Adrian Newey. So when your team principal the guy with whom you've cultivated this relationship founded on an implicit trust, that he respects me for my competence, what I'm able to deliver to the team. When that guy with whom you have this bond of sorts goes before the world's media and press and says something to the effect of, we have a brilliant team of aero. Adrian Newey is absolutely brilliant, but it's not just him. How is that good management of your people, Christian Horner? In truth, it is not. Adrian Newey won't have loved that at all. I think he will have seen that as a massive disrespect. His wife too. Again, when the article that Pierre Rache was talking all this stuff about, yeah, it's replaceable, but we've got a brilliant team of errors and we'll be able to manage without him, that he hasn't touched a car since the RB18, for Pete's sake, the RB19 and the RB20. He was involved, but not to the extent that the world's press and media make out. Amanda Newey, Adrian Newey's wife, liked that tweet and commented underneath it, a load of bollocks, aka that is false. You are discrediting, no, trivializing, even minimalizing my husband's involvement. That then is tantamount to slander. Ergo, Christian Horner has mismanaged the PR, indeed mismanaged the key personnel around him, hence why Adrian Newey is looking to leave, and potentially Max Verstappen imminently. Holy smokes, all this time who knew that Jos Verstappen was right all along. If Christian Horner stays, Jos says, then Red Bull could implode here on in. Who are we to call that dude crazy? Because everything that he said now is coming true. It's being realised, isn't it? Transpiring before our eyes. Who knew, chat? Not me. That Jos Verstappen had it nailed. Oh, the humanity. Prosecution rests. No further questions, Your Honour.